present: pandemic, lockdown exposure, mass extinction, extinction rebellion, climate catastrophe, the youth climate movement, scandals of patriarchy, #MeToo, the rise of authoritarian hate, again, moments of empathy, and rolling Black Lives Matter protests. Where and what is the remit of environmental education and research in such instances of the present? Should it, can it even be severed from the broader renderings of reality that feed and filter our daily lives, which themselves dictate what is environmental, what is natural, and what is not? Might these framings be altered so as to increase the plurality with which we can approach and understand the problem? Besides, are these creations, these concepts, not also environmental? Is this not the rejection of any advocation for the ethical desert of the featureless plain, and rather a call to widen our understandings of methodologies as always already environmentally performative, as always already pedagogical in the way they condition our ways of being, regardless of their non-paradigmatic allegiances, as always already political and ethical, as always mattering? When we issued a call for papers for this special issue of environmental education research, we were aware of currents of work that had ebbed and flowed on the conception and experience of matter, and the return to the material. But it was often unclear to us what further ramifications, implications, and performativities might be of the associated materialisms which were being invoked, criticised, or offered as generative in this work. Wherever we find ourselves with such twists and turns, including the possibility of profound disorientation, together and with others, we wondered what work might be being done by those we knew and those we would like to know, who might treat these topics as, in some way or other, matters that could be addressed by bringing environmental education into closer proximity, even commingling with the new materialisms. So abundant was the response that we have been able to accept 2 issues worth of papers for publication, and as such, we trust this collection affords a wider range of perspectives on new materialisms employed, and thus runs a fuller gamut of criticism, caution, application, and wholehearted endorsement than initially anticipated. We begin the special issue with an introduction to the collection. It offers a brief overview of new materialisms before going on to discuss the ways in which some environmental education research has been moving with this term. We close this introduction with a reflection on various tensions, knots, and lines of flight, which, whilst not derived directly from the papers that make up this special issue, we nonetheless see as potential themes and directions of travel for new materialisms and environmental education research. In our second paper, an editorial essay, we introduce the 17 papers that make up the special issue, outlining our sequencing of them in relation to themes we see emerging from their contributions. We recognise that readers will imagine, detect, and respond in diverse ways to the papers and the thematics on their own terms too, noting that other inclusions in the collection would likely have generated different patterns and affordances for insight, challenge, and debate. Thus, we argue that in some senses the collection must remain open rather than closed, while we also invite further contributions on the topics that engage with what the collection does and does not offer, and to rework it. In other words, we trust our introduction underscores the imminent performativity expected of many of the new materialisms, and highlights their potential to forge axiological pathways away from dominant onto epistemologies of environmental education and its research.